So here we are. You're definitely loading this up from original floppy disks.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
definitely not a Mr.
No,
information
no.
screen in the top left.
Okay, so you're outputting at 1920 by 1000, and it's showing 320 by 240. That's
Yes.
cool. I like it.
I don't think I had integer scaling enabled. I'll turn it on sometimes, but for recording a video, I figured I'd get the full screen.
Gotcha.
You can put away those magnifying glasses, people. I got you covered.
Okay, so now, so you've never played a floppy version of a Don Bluth game, right?
No, I have not.
Okay, so that's one of the cool things about this that, and we can give a little bit of context. Some of our listeners will already know the general gist of the story, but when Readsoft, a Canadian company, wanted to port Don Bluth's Laserdisc games to home computers, the way that they decided to do it was this tech that would stream the animation to the computer with the disk drive. So the disk is constantly running and it's constantly reading stuff off the disk. And they did this for several of the games, and because the Don Bluth games were basically always just the same animation, uncomplicated. This was their attempt to do a completely original game using a similar technique, but also or keeping the look, but trying to make it more interactive. And guessing from the fact that you keep getting killed that it's not that interactive, or what's the control like here at this point?
Oh, well, it's very evident I have not played this before. Everything. I gotta say, I was blown away by the graphics. It definitely, with you linking the history with, I guess, the Amiga ports, right, of Dragon's Lair and those games, you definitely see it immediately in this. But the tax of that is it's got to display all of these crazy animations, and I guess that's hurting the controls a little bit, because response time, I would say it felt mushy, but also it wasn't unplayable. It definitely wasn't unplayable once you got a lay of the land, which is why I died a couple of times. But hey, I'm already on the second level, so I gotta be doing something right. We'll see how this goes, though.
Well, and this is a weird thing. I only played this recently for the first time. It was one of the. I was a big fan of their ports of the. A nice animation on the explosion. The explosion is really nicely animated. But I was a huge fan of their Don Bluth ports, because I'm obsessed with Dragon's Lair. That was the game that got me into gaming, period, as a kid. But when Guy Spy came out, the reviews just were very, very cruel to this game. The reviewers did not care for this game at all. And it has to do largely with that mushy feeling, and because because they were coming after the Dragon's Lair games, it was just seen as a, better than, but not enough of a patch on the original. And now, looking at the arrows, it almost feels like it jumps to a couple of preset positions with very little movement in between, right?
It felt like I was moving a little bit within a grid, but it also felt pretty analog. It was just me fighting the the sluggishness of the controls, for sure.
Well, and that's the weird thing. The Amiga didn't have analog controllers. These were all digital joysticks.
Okay. I was gonna ask that too. Yeah, because I was playing on a gamepad.
Yeah.
Actually, I was playing on a TurboGrafx gamepad, but that's I don't know if that's completely in the spirit, but that's what I was using.
Yeah, what you would have been using here is an actual joystick.
Okay.
A one-button joystick.
Right. I wonder if that would have helped with, I guess the input. I don't know. Coming into these games, it's interesting because people reviewing this would have played tons of other Amiga games at the time, whereas I'm coming at this from just being absolutely marveled by everything the Amiga is able to pull off, especially in this setting where I'm seeing full cartoon style graphics at this point. That's incredible.
Oh yeah. Joe DeCour, who was the one of the designers on the graphics hardware, the chipset that would become the Amiga.
Okay.
I talked to him. He gave a presentation at a retro gaming con in the late 90s. And he said, yeah, it was when the Amiga was originally being designed, they weren't sure yet if it was going to become a console or a computer or both. Because it was originally designed by the same people who did the Atari 2600 and the Atari 8-bit computers.
I could see that. Sounds like they landed on both, because this is pretty serviceable on both accounts.
Yeah, well, and the Atari 8-bit computer was originally designed to be that. That's why there was the 400 and the 800. The 400 was supposed to be a game console. The 800 was supposed to remain a computer. But the 2600 had that slow start and was just picking up when the machines came out. And they decided, well, the computer components, the chips, would be too expensive for a console, so we'll just turn it into a low-grade computer without a physical keyboard. With less RAM.
Right.
And so they went in thinking they might do the same thing. There's a lot of different opinions on what was the original plan. Different people on the Amiga team were pushing for computer, others for console. But the philosophy of the chip design was the same. And Joe DeCour said, yeah, well, they had these tests, game tests, where they had these super well-drawn and animated Smurfs running around the screen. And it was like, just imagine if we had gotten it out on time in 1983.
Interesting.
Which is when this hardware was originally supposed to be hitting. 83 or 84.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, it should have been out the same year as the NES, the Famicom launched in Japan.
Huh.
But yeah, it would have been a more expensive machine, definitely.
Got it. Also, what are we watching? What is happening?
Oh, I watched a video of this, so I didn't even get this far because I didn't figure out that you actually had to move the joystick up to jump into the train.
Right.
I just kept getting killed. I was like, why do they keep coming? Why are there more and more of these guys? And I can never. Sorry. I've watched this, and there's a playthrough of it, and I'll put that in the show notes. It took some dude like 5 minutes of this back and forth. Apparently, you have to try to get her to move all the way up, and then walk into the corner in the top left.
Okay.
And then really, really quickly try to get back. And I guess there's like a split second where she's 1 pixel away, and then you can get past her.
I would have never figured that out.
No. There's some stuff. The actual playthrough of this game that I watched online, the full playthrough took 18 minutes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I figured the game's probably short once you know what you're doing. But
Yeah. Well, because, and this came on I don't know how many discs, but I can look that up 1 second. Because the other games, Dragon's Lair and Space Ace and stuff, were notorious for being on a ton of discs. I think Space Ace was 5 discs, and it wasn't even half of the original Laserdisc game. It was just a handful of snippets of the game. And then they released Space Ace 2, Borf's Revenge, which was basically just more scenes from the arcade game cut into other, and trying to make a new story out of it.
Oh, weird.
They did the same thing with Dragon's Lair, became Dragon's Lair, and Dragon's Lair 2, Singe's Escape from Singe's Castle. And then Dragon's Lair 2, Time Warp, big chunks of that became Dragon's Lair 3, Mordred's Revenge, if I remember correctly. And I can't believe I actually know all this by heart still.
I'm always fascinated with what you can rattle off here, and it's always a learning experience. So.
I spent way too much time in my life paying attention to this crap. Is really the lesson I'm trying to tell everybody. So yes. And wait, let's see. Media, do we have the box art? Oh yeah, here we go. 4 discs. This came on 4 floppy disks.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
For 18 minutes worth of pretty full motion animation. That's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
floppies.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing compared to, for example, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis was like 14 discs.
That's more what I'd expect for this game.
Yeah, no, 14 discs. As somebody who played through it, I can tell you that was hard. So very, very hard without a hard drive and just 2 floppy drives.
Yep.
Yeah. But okay, let's get back to the show then.